Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about our favorite rock star of the galaxy, Star-Lord. So, let's get started. Peter Quill, mainly known as Star-Lord, first appeared in a black and white magazine known as Marvel Preview No. 4, released in January of 1976, created by Steve Englehart and Steve Gann. At the age of 10 years old, his mother Meredith would be killed by two Badoon soldiers, who have come to kill Peter and end his father's bloodline. We would find out, unknown to Peter, that his father, Jason, is an emperor from a different planet. Peter would kill them with a shotgun and escape his home before it was destroyed by a Badoon ship. The Badoon presumes Peter's been killed and then leaves. Peter is then placed in an orphanage and eventually joins NASA. It was eventually explained that he was raised by his mother's best friend, Lisa Chang, who was a commander at NASA. Later on, when his ship does malfunction and he is stranded in space, Peter is found by the Ravengers, a group of space pirates led by Yondu. After the Ravengers save Peter, he tries to steal their ship, and he outsmarts the Ravengers and even knocks out Yondu before capturing him. After Yondu wakes up, he frees himself and attacks Peter, letting Peter choose to be released to space without more trouble or to be killed. Peter instead asks Yondu if he could join Yondu's crew, and Yondu eventually learns that the two share something in common: growing up as kids without homes. Yondu lets Peter stay in the ship with the Ravengers as their cleaning boy, and Peter decides to stay and try to learn everything he can while among the Ravengers. Peter would encounter the Fallen One, a former herald of Galactus, and is almost killed defeating him. In addition, his ship is destroyed in the conflict, and Peter and the Fallen One are then imprisoned into the intergalactic prison known as the Kiln. Peter is eventually freed though by Nova, and during the Annihilation War, which you guys should totally read, I might do a video on that, but he ends up aiding in the war against Annihilus. He later acts as a military advisor to none other than Ronan the Accuser, and after an unsuccessful attempt to stop a war between the Kree and the Shi'ar Empire, Peter decides to remain inactive for a time until he discovers his father was planning to pass a new law that forbade any interaction of anything connected to Earth. Knowing this would be an open invitation for invasion, Peter decides to reform the Guardians with 6 members: Gamora, Rocket, Groot, Drax, and Bug, along with himself, and start protecting Earth from any attack, and soon they would help the Avengers against Thanos. After this, Star-Lord and his new team of Guardians engage in conflicts with the Badoon, and he is soon captured by his father's army of Spartax. But he escapes his capture and broadcasts a video showing the unfairness of his father's reign. He also declared war against the Shi'ar Empire after intervening in one of their trials to rescue the young Jean Grey along with the X-Men, and during this mission, Peter would meet Kitty Pryde, and the two eventually would have a romantic relationship. Afterward, the Guardians are cornered and captured by the Spartax army, and Peter is sent to Spartax where he confronts his father again, and escapes after exposing, once again, his father's tyrannical reign. A riot would form of the Empire, and Jason is disposed. As a consequence, Peter keeps a low profile and remains dedicated to his long-distance relationship with Kitty. Soon he does discover, though, he is elected by the Spartax people to be their new emperor. Peter does ignore this announcement and focuses on Kitty Pryde and his search for a gangster named Mr. Knife, who would later be found out it would be his father trying to put a bounty on his head. He would escape thanks to Kitty getting out of that situation, and they would spend more time together, and eventually Peter would convince Kitty to stay in space with him. And down the road, Peter would propose to Kitty, with her accepting. But fast forwarding after the Secret Wars event, Peter would take his throne of Spartax, with Rocket taking over leadership of the Guardians, while Kitty, under the alias of Star Lady, and the Thing, who recently joined the team. But it wouldn't be too long when Hala and Yotat the Destroyer would attack Spartax and looking for the new king, and many lives would be taken during this process, and Peter's return to the Guardians of the Galaxy is due to the accusations about his responsibility for the resulting deaths. Eventually, Peter and Kitty would break off their engagement, with her staying on Earth and Peter once again traveling the universe. But during the Infinity War storyline that happened actually pretty recently, Gamora would begin to go crazy and collect all the Infinity Stones. The team would begin to separate, with Drax leaving with the Soul Stone, which would momentarily break up the team. But when Doctor Strange assembled what would be the newest version of the Infinity Watch, who would be there to protect the stones. Gamora would break in, taking all the stones, but Peter would try to stop her. And as he would try to calm her down, Gamora would stab him through the chest with her sword. Luckily though, Doctor Strange would save Peter before dying. After this event, with Gamora a fugitive, Drax dying, and Rocket on the verge of death, Peter and Groot would drift through space, not knowing what to do. Peter became depressed, but during the funeral of Thanos himself announced from a hologram that he would be resurrected. And from there, people began to believe that Gamora would be the vessel for Thanos. And from here, Peter would assemble a new team with him, including Rocket, Drax's daughter, Moondragon, Phyla Lavelle, and Beta Ray Bill. And they would set out to save Gamora and clear her name. So that's really what's been going on with Star-Lord recently. I know they started a new series, actually, a few months ago. I think they're on issue like 3. But if you guys do get a chance, you guys want something to read about, I would read the Annihilation storyline or Annihilation event. I would read Donny Cates' Guardians of the Galaxy. They came out last year. It's a really good read. I definitely recommend it. And then also try out Infinity Wars. It's kind of a cool, fun story. Personally, it wasn't for my taste, but I think people liked it, so I do want to recommend it. That's Peter Quill, guys. If you guys like this stuff, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll check you guys out in the next video. Also, comment down below if there's any people you want me to do. See ya.